Okay, it's working. You're not? So something didn't save. It does say edit. Should I hit edit again? Oh, all right, but there's no save option. I am. I'm all the way down. Only cancel is lit up. Jeez. Yeah, I don't know why it won't save. Yep. I put in the title, historic preservation, maybe. Yeah, the title was there. Public, learn more. I don't know what I did wrong. I did something wrong. Oh boy. I don't know. Now I'm just like, I don't know what to do. Streams, oh, again now? I did restart it. Restarted it because it wasn't coming on. I'm afraid to restart it again. Oh, okay, good. Oh, okay. Okay. Your alternates don't vote because everyone's here, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so I do not call on them.
No, and we should tell them. Would you tell them? That's right, isn't it, Tom? That's right.
That's right, that's right. Did you get caught in the rain?
What? No.
Did you get caught in the rain? That sort of, it really came down there.
It did.
I thought, I hope that passes by the time I have to walk around the corner. Jeez. Yeah, yeah. Yep. How's Philly?
Good.
We're headed up Wednesday. Just a night. We're having a hard time getting 2 nights together. So many things going on down here that we have to start allotting the time to say, we're going to go up there for 2 nights. And pretty soon our swimming pool will open and more plays are opening and we'll want to be up there.
Yeah, well, there'll be more things to do.
Yeah.
A lot of things aren't really opening.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, they are.
Bath and Am's closing.
Yeah. Well, they say that's closed because of research work going on?
They're redoing the whole inside.
The whole inside.
Yeah, like, which doesn't make a lot of these older people happy. But they're taking I don't know, you can see it on the web.
Yeah, I
They're
did.
taking that part, they're making it like a coffee lounge. This is becoming, like what Beth
So
wants
that's
it to be.
what it's going to be over the course of the summer. Shoot, I love just going over there and sitting on one of those big old couches. And
Yeah, I know, but it's because of people like you who go over there and sit there and do it.
Good evening, everyone. Historic Preservation Commission, May 16th, 2022 at 6 o'clock, or a little bit after. In compliance with the Open Public Meeting Act of 1975, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided. If any member believes this meeting is held in violation of that act, they should state so at this time. Pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Campbell?
Here,
Mr. Cogswell?
Here.
Ms. Pisagno?
Here.
Ms. Wilson-Stredick?
Here.
Mr. Testa?
Here.
Mr. Stevenson?
Here.
Mr. Becker?
Here.
Mr. Carroll?
Here.
Mr. Copeland?
Here. Since we have everyone here tonight, which is unusual, the alternates will participate in the discussion but won't vote. But we really want and solicit your participation. Minutes, you've had a chance to review those. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes of April 25th, 2022?
So moved, but I have a comment. According to the minutes, Mr. Testa voted twice to accept the minutes from the previous meeting. So I'd like to have one of Mr. Testa taken out.
You can remove me any place you like. And I will second the motion for acceptance of the minutes as amended.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cogswell. Ms. Campbell?
yes,
Mr. Cogswell?
Yes,
Ms. Pisagno?
Abstain.
Ms. Wilson-Stredick?
Abstain.
Mr. Testa?
Yes.
Mr. Stevenson?
Yes.
Mr. Becker? You were here for that. Mr. Carroll?
Abstain?
Mr. Copeland?
Yes. Resolutions. 401 Lafayette Street, 1046/8, Resolution 2022-18. Huffelman, 219 North Street, 1031/43, Resolution 2022-19. Huffelman, 10 North Street, 1021-2, Resolution 2022-20. Jersey Development LLC, 1115/17.01, Resolution 2022-21. And Healy, 236 Grant Street, 1019/13.01, Resolution 2022. Do I have a motion to accept those resolutions?
so move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Cogswell, seconded by Mr. Carroll. Ms. Campbell?
yes,
Mr. Cogswell?
Yes,
Ms. Pisagno?
Abstain.
Ms. Wilson-Stredick?
Abstain.
Mr. Testa?
Yes.
Mr. Carroll?
Abstain?
Mr. Copeland?
Yes. Okay, first order of business.
But applications approved and review.
I thought that's what we just did.
No, you did the resolutions.
Sorry. Applications approved and review. You've had a chance to look at those. Do I have a motion to accept them?
Also move.
Okay. I'll second that, but I will recuse myself on Church of the Advent.
Motion by Mr. Carroll. Was that you, Mr. Carroll?
Yes.
Seconded by Mr. Cogswell. We have an addition to that. It was pointed out to me by Mr. Testa that there was an application for Young at 1034 Lafayette Street, Block 1112, 11112, Lot 6, for a generator. Ms. Campbell?
Yes.
Mr. Cogswell?
Yes?
Ms. Bisagno?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson-Stridick?
Yes.
Mr. Testa?
Yes.
Mr. Carroll?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes. Applications. Elaine's Property Management, LLC, 513 Lafayette Street, Block 1053, Lot 13, contributing, this is for an outdoor bar and a second porch. Okay. If you would turn the mics on and name and relationship to the property for the record, please.
Sure. Shirley Finney, I'm the owner at the 513 Lafayette Street, and this is our builder in case we have questions on the drawings,
Fred Sinitas, FX Construction and Design.
and my husband.
Patrick Wall.
Take it away.
So we met last month, and I guess some of you weren't here, but they had asked us to make some changes. We had a conceptual approval, but we wanted to show the railings, the handicap ramp, the porch wraparound, what it would look like, lighting, and planting. And Ms. Campbell had a question, like a view from the street. So we sent some pictures of the cherry trees, the big trees that block. So we think we covered everything, and then we brought our builder just in case there was a question that we were unable to answer. So we think they look good. We fixed your columns so they line up.
Yeah, would speak into the mic. Yeah, do you want to go through the changes that we requested and what you've done?
I mean, you can speak better
The, I'll just look what was amended on the thing. Firstly, you could see the actual layout of the deck with the sidewalk included, and the plantings is the first, is A 2.0. You'll have the sightline down the street, well, you conceptualize the sightline down the street, and the lighting over top of that with all the amendments you wanted. On the next page, there wasn't enough definition about the sawn balusters and the decking and the railings that were going to be done. So we included in these drawings, well, firstly, one blow-up of the whole thing, so you can see the whole layout, and proposed seating, and this is on SD4. And then more specifically, I know that we had more problems with how the bar was going to actually look. So on SD 4.1, you'll see the clapboard front on the bar, the pillars.
Before we go to
Okay.
Before we go to A4, back on A3, we want to take a look.
A3.
We just have the commission have a chance to look at the
Okay.
balusters and how that is done. I think we can picture it. I would have hoped to have a split out of, is this actually what you're going to solve?
The front on the physical railing.
Yeah.
Yeah, to exactly match what's on the existing building.
Okay?
Can I ask a question on that page?
Certainly.
On the first floor railing system, you have an awful lot of standards for amount of railing that you're running.
If you look on page A2, it looks on the horizontal profile, it does look that way, but it's because the actual bar is almost like a piano shape. So if we look at that,
Oh, I see. That railing's all the way out there.
correct.
I see. Thank you.
A4, take it away.
Changes on A4.
A4 just shows the existing pillars to be replicated, and the upper balcony to match as well.
Normally we go around the room, but this is, we've hashed it over quite a bit, so. As I recall, we were looking for a landscape plan on the A2. You have marked it number 12. Do you have any details on that landscape? This was to cover
Right,
railing in
so,
people from the street.
yeah, it will be high to cover that, but a lot of it is covered from the trees, and then we're going to have pots on the deck. And we have a lot of gardens on our property now. We like gardens, we like flowers, and so, but a lot of it is cement, so it's not like you can go put gardens in, you know? So this area will be able to put the gardens, and then we'll have pots and things like that on the deck.
But exactly what is? You've got
These
7.
shrubs.
Right, they're going to be like taller shrubs, so it'll block like halfway up the rail.
But we don't know what shrub material is.
Well, I mean, I would like to put hydrangeas, that's what we have on the front of the building, across the whole front, we have the hydrangeas, they're very Victorian. So if you like that, I would like to do the hydrangeas, and they grow huge.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
Well, I'm comfortable with it.
I am. I think this application is very responsive to what we asked for. I think the concern we had about the view from Lafayette with the deck is addressed by the plantings, and if the commission wants, you can be specific and condition the approval to the kind of plantings they want. But as far as I'm concerned, I think this is totally responsive to what we asked for. I do have one question, and that was, this is the first time you've introduced the lighting with specificity in it, and if I'm seeing it correctly, I'm understanding there are 4 strings suspended from the pole.
Right.
Each of them with 50 bulbs on a 2-foot spacing.
It's not 2 feet. We purchased a roll, and it's 2 feet, and then they're wired in on the pole.
Yeah, my only concern is, and I see you're using LEDs, and you're using relatively warm LEDs, so it doesn't look like a bright car parking lot. But I am just a little concerned about the totality of the amount of light. I can see the bulbs and I can see what they are, and you say that they're 120 lumens per bulb, and I count them, and that's like, I don't know, 9,000 or 10,000 lumens over the area. I do not know whether that's a lot or a little. Is that consistent with what you've used before?
Facing on the front patio.
Okay.
It's perfect. It's the same exact fixture, same everything, same bulbs, and it worked wonderful.
So people can see what they're doing, what they're eating, what they're drinking, and people from the street don't think that you have a floodlight there. Okay, answered my question. Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions or observations on this application?
I would just like to add that, I think you've done a wonderful job that you've integrated the bar into the building. It blends right in perfectly.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, you almost don't notice it.
Yeah, it's good job.
So I just have one comment. Very responsive, nicely done. Just one detail. The brackets on the first floor columns are missing on the elevation on A3, and I think that's just They show up in the section, but they're not in the elevation. I just want to make sure that when our inspector is there looking at them, that they're there.
Yeah, all right.
Okay?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Trust me, it'll be perfect.
Good, thanks.
I'm good at making.
That's the whole thing. We want it to look exactly like the original part.
Any other questions or observations? Do I have a motion?
I'd move to give final approval to the application as submitted, and I don't know whether the brackets are material enough to attach that as a condition to completion, but let's say then, final approval with the condition that the brackets be, as Mr. Becker had indicated.
And the hydrangea.
And the plantings be hydrangeas that will cover the space adequately, shielding the view from Lafayette Street.
Second that one.
Motion by Mr. Testa, seconded by Mr. Cogswell. Ms. Campbell? Mr. Cogswell?
Yes.
Ms. Pisagno?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson-Stredick? Mr. Testa?
Yes.
Mr. Carroll?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes. Thank you. I would agree with the comment. You are responsive. As you know, we had a number of questions the first time you came, but this is significantly improved, I think.
Thank
So
you so much.
Thank you. Good luck.
Next order of business is Walters, 223 North Street, Block 1031, Lot 41. Renovation, additions, a pool, and a garage. While they're getting set up, John Becker and I visited the property, went over some ideas with the builder. The project manager wanted to meet, but our schedules just didn't work out. So John and I and the builder agreed. This is the one, if you recall, had a long addition down. And so what we see tonight may reflect a lot of what we discussed and may have changed a little bit. So with that,
Mr. Chairman, I won't be participating. It's within 200 feet.
okay.
Good evening, everybody. Yeah, you summed it up. So we're back again.
Name and all that.
Adam Crossland, project manager with Backish Architects. Property owner, Sean Walters.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. And after our presentation last month, we went back to the drawing board based on the site meeting that you had with the contractor. So if you want to open up the drawings that we resubmitted, I think we addressed all of the concerns, hopefully, that were brought up. The major one being a cantilever along the whole driveway side of the building that's behind the existing bathroom addition that is already an existing cantilever. So the drawings presented before you tonight have that entire cantilever being removed. There was also, I think you made the comment last month about how heavy and tall the building was in the back. Of course, by removing the cantilever, we removed that whole portion of the building and have the high roof along the driveway side that is now taken off. Based on this site meeting, we were told, however, that you guys would be okay with putting a second small cantilever equal in size to the front at the rear of the building. That would only be on the second floor only and would have a low-pitched roof. So that is shown, based on what you had said, it could be 2 feet off the rear of the building and it could be approximately 10 feet long.
That's this piece here?
Yes, that small cantilever, yeah, exactly.
Also, for the commission, this is a bit unusual, but to accommodate the timing on this, there is a contemporary addition on the back of the building. And we asked for the 9 points, but we have agreed for the demolition of the new section in the back that will be replaced with.
If you look on the first sheet, HC1, Warren, there's a good picture of that back. There's existing rear photo, and you can see there was like a funky 60s edition. I'm sorry. Oh. Very funky 60s edition on the back of the house. So in order to expedite things, yes, I do believe you met at the site, and we were given permission to knock that portion of the building down.
Yeah, there was a time constraint because of
The moratorium.
the moratorium on what you can do after May 20th. Also, they had access to someone else's property, so they could get a dumpster in to the back. And since it's so obviously not appropriate for this building,
Right, but are we saying that it's not significant enough to go through the 9 points, or we want to
it's
just?
done. We approved it in review, which is unusual, but
You and John,
yes. So
I'm comfortable with that.
you'll see it next month.
Nothing here looks to me like it needs the testimony. I just wondered if the record needed it.
Yeah. Well, you'll see it next month, and the reason I bring it up now is because since it's right in front of us,
Yeah.
it's a little bit easier.
No problem.
So when you see it next month, you'll know. It's unusual, it's not what we would normally do, but under the circumstance, it made sense. So, with that,
So I believe that those were the negatives from the meeting last month. It was the cantilever and the height of the roof over the cantilever. So we did change that as well. Last month, we had an A-frame roof going over the existing front cantilever. We lowered that down to basically be the existing condition, the way the roof is shown there now. We will certainly restore, and the new cantilever that's going to be put in the back, all that great dental trim that is there, we will restore that and copy that where it needs to be copied or replicated. Also, I know based on your conversation with Ray Hawthorne when you were at the site, we will update all the gingerbread to be a little more detailed to match the house across the street. So our drawings reflect all the additional gingerbread that will be added. We're going to have John Hasley make all that. We've already been in touch with him.
yeah, again, for the commission's benefit, the way that's trimmed in the front now is not age appropriate for the building. It is going to be changed, and it will mimic the house across the street and down a little bit. So that also will be a significant improvement to this building.
Any questions or comments on what you have in front of you?
I think the one other comment was to ensure that the windows stayed in the place that they're at, so adjusting the fire, or the chimney, so that everything was
Yes.
in the right spot as
Yes.
well. So that was fixed as well.
Thank you, Sean. Yeah, so we did actually put a note underneath the front elevation that all existing window locations will remain the same. Existing baluster design, so I think this came up at the site meeting too, so I want to make sure I explain that. The existing baluster design on the building is not to current code, so we're going to take the exact design that exists at the house, and we are just going to elongate it. So we'll take the center section and make it longer to make it meet the 36-inch high code for railings. So it'll be the same design, it'll just be stretched. Say that again?
What's the current height on that?
The current height is about 2'6".
2'6", so you need another foot then?
Correct.
6, yeah.
And then I brought this because I think it was discussed too. This will be the
No,
exact
no,
So it's 6
only
inches.
6 inches.
6 inches.
6 inches.
No. I was going to suggest just put a second railing.
That's how it is at Congress Hall. I think it's better to just, because they do
Well,
where they have like a bar going across it. I think we'd be better off.
I think your stretch idea is a lot better,
Yeah.
as long as it's not disproportionate.
I was before you guys a couple years ago too. We did a house on the beach that had the same situation. You had first suggested that, but we just took everything, made it 6 inches longer, and it looks great. That's the house on the corner of Beach Drive in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
That's what we did, that's what we did there.
Before we go around the room, John, you were there. Do you have any?
No, the only comment I have is there's one very odd condition that I just want to call your attention, is on the west
Talk into the
elevation.
mic, please.
On the west elevation, which I guess, what are you calling that? Left side elevation, the northernmost window, which is above the kitchen sink. Its relationship to the bracket of the new cantilever obviates the ability for you to put the left shutter on that window, which is really an anomalous condition, which I would, you can solve that by moving the sink, right?
I'm so glad you brought that up.
Oh.
Because I have an alternate set of plans here with just that one thing moved a little bit to fix that exact condition.
Great, thank you.
I have it all right here.
So why couldn't you give it to us in the first place?
Timing, I was rushing to get everything in so we could get heard.
Right.
It's also slightly different than the original
Yes.
agreement on site, so.
This reflects what John and I talked to the builder about. And this is a change to that. And this is what Adam wanted to meet with us about, but our schedules didn't line up. So we have to be careful on our motion to pick up this change.
We'll share one here.
That's why Tom Carroll's going to make the motion.
I am, okay. Yeah, he did. Adam, while we're on the subject of shutters on the same side, why don't you have any shutters on the third floor windows, which, would fill out that side and make that compatible with the first and second floor?
We can certainly make that a condition of approval. It's just so high up in the air, but I would be happy to put them on there. And with that actually being said, there is also a note on here that all the shutters are going to be new, functioning shutters, and they will be wood, of course.
And they will, each shutter will be half the size of the window enclosure.
True.
I know you've heard that before. And when you have double windows and a shutter on each side, they should look like a bifold shutter that would close out over the window in question. Okay?
Happy to make that a condition of
Okay.
approval.
Okay.
So if you look on HC3 of what I just gave you, it's that secondary cantilever that was discussed at the site meeting, but I slid it closer to the front of the building to be opposite of the front one.
Yeah, it has the same relationship as the front one. It's much nicer.
So much better.
Does.
I agree.
Any other questions or observations on this application?
This is conceptual.
No.
So I
This
would
is
like
final.
to say that I think it's fine that you match all this stuff and, make balusters right and all of that. But this house is
You didn't
huge,
indicate it.
huge. And it has so much mass and it's so long here. I will agree that it's different than what you had before. But this is a little tiny colonial house. It's one of the oldest houses in Cape May, built in 1850. And now it looks like that house up on Lafayette that has a bunch of additions on the back of it that make it all one huge big house. So I'm sure that's the best you can do when you want to get a third floor and you want to have a lot of bathrooms and you want to have a lot of different space that wasn't ever part of how this house was designed. But the way the additions are now, even with that 1950s addition that probably could be improved, that's how houses were done then. They had a house and then they put an addition and then maybe they put another addition on the back of it. They didn't make it all like one giant house. So I still don't like it. But that's neither here nor there probably.
Well,
I appreciate your comments. We spent a lot of time massaging this design to make it fit and to keep the integrity of the original house that was there.
Yeah. I don't think you could accomplish what Pip has suggested. It just doesn't work. But I do think that what you have done preserves the front elevation and the facade, which to me is the most important thing in what you've done, and taken the addition and tucked it, at least long-wise, back along the lot. So for me, that kind of takes this over the bar of being acceptable.
Thank you.
Other comments?
I'd like to comment also.
Would you talk into the mic? Yeah.
Yeah. I share Pip's concern about the scale and the sort of confusing visual of a house that looks like it was all built at once. So this is a fine point. I don't believe we can reject a design because of that. But we put our time in because we love Cape May's historic authenticity. And we try to do our best. And some of us are really good at reading construction documents and imagining what it'll look like. I'm not one of those people. I'm one of the people who goes down the road and goes, oh my God, how did we approve that? Because once it's built, it dwarfs everything else. And one of the principles of historic preservation is that the new construction should be distinctly different, and it should respect the original and be secondary. And the more we build these huge houses and make huge houses out of old houses, the more the actual authentic historic fabric becomes secondary to the new. So I just have to say that. I know it doesn't make any difference to this application, but I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't express that. Thank you.
I think there's a real feeling around the table on exactly that issue. The toughest thing is, our zoning ordinances allow people to put this much on their property.
Right.
And then we get the job of trying to make it look as appropriate as possible without denying them the use of the property as guaranteed in the zoning, which they've been paying taxes on for years and years. So, you know, it's tough. I do agree. But as Jim said, and John, you know, keeping that front as architecturally correct as possible, you know, you sort of lose it as it goes into the backyard.
But the question is, I mean, one question is, and this is not my call at all, but this is a house that when it gets reviewed again, will become non-contributing. Because when a house is judged as contributing or not contributing, it's not judged because there's a facade. It's judged because a house that was once this long and had this is now this long and 3 stories high, which it never was, right?
3 stories in the front.
Well, that little tiny thing, attic up on the top, yeah. But that attic up on the top.
Well, I think none of us really are able to express, I don't have the expertise to know whether it would use contributing status. That to me is a debatable question. So it's your opinion. It's not expertise from the standpoint of someone making that determination. But I really think that there are limitations to the restraint that we can put on the development of property within the bounds, as Tom has pointed out. I would love this to be a lot smaller and not really abuse lines that were not there, but that's not the case. And I guess it comes to the point where I say, well, on balance, I'm willing to accept that. And I guess I'm willing to accept the risk that it won't be contributing also, although I don't know that to be the case.
I was out there today, and I walked down the side of the house, and you can tell where the original house was, and each addition is delineated along the way. We lose that with this. I mean, if we had a way of keeping the boundaries of each addition where it would be delineated that, well, this house was built in such and such a time, the family grew, so they put an addition on the back because they needed more room, and it grew again and grew again, which is your definition of a telescope house. Some areas where the farmhouses, and you can see each addition which you can now in this building, which you won't be able to see in the future. And
I see the point, Carmen. I mean, I just,
I agree with the point also, but we don't have the advantage of a photo here right now. The additions that were put on are not consistent with what you would expect additions from the turn of the century put on. These additions really cobbled together. It appears in the 50s or the 60s. It's not just that one strange thing at the back, there's two other ones. And so if you were to keep that the way it is, it would detract from the community, in my estimation. Whereas by moving the property to this state, it would add to the community. And I think the front facade is going to be improved pretty dramatically, which is not, it's not evident here, the way it looks. There's trim on the front of this house that is amateurish, for lack of a better term. And it's just tacked flush on the posts. It's not
You
even.
don't have to build a three-story addition to improve trim.
Well, the front facade is the same.
The front facade is the same, yes.
And the initial side is the
I
same.
don't think we're here to advise the applicant how to repair his house. I think we're here to judge whether or not an application he's made carries enough affirmative value in it to be approved by us. And some people won't think that, and some people will. But it's not just a repair project. This is a fellow who wants to rebuild his house and is seeking to preserve, I think, what he can, and has been through this several times. I couldn't possibly think of what else to suggest because I think what's been put up here is responsive to what we've asked for before. I don't want to keep repeating myself, so I'll wait for a motion to be introduced.
Any other comments?
I would just make one more comment. This house is like the wooden rabbit, right? And it's exactly like the wooden rabbit, and the wooden rabbit had some stuff that we would not approve, but we would approve it here, right?
I see a lot of differences in what the Wooden Rabbit wanted to do and this one.
Okay, all right,
Which is why everything's have to come to a board.
true.
Yeah.
Do I have a motion?
Well, Jim says I have to make the motion.
It's
I
your
will make
turn.
a motion that the application be approved as presented. If there are other elements such as lighting fixtures and things that we haven't seen, I think you should submit that to the review board. And we had significant discussion on shutters, and you assured us that they would all properly fit the windows, they would be operational. They would also extend to the third floor windows to keep the side even. And in the case of double windows, there would be double shutters that would have the impact of folding out over the windows.
And also the kitchen windows being relocated from this drawing.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's actually the HPC option plan. I gave a copy to Judy.
Yeah, we need
Not
that in
as
the
submitted.
motion.
So the motion would be made conditional upon those elements that were just elaborated.
And my motion would also include that the lately introduced plan showing the kitchen window removed be part of our final approval.
Excellent.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Motion by Mr. Carroll, seconded by Corbin Cogswell. Ms. Campbell?
No,
Mr. Cogswell? Mr. Cogswell?
I'm thinking, still thinking.
You can pass him, we'll get back to it.
Ms. Pisagno?
I'm going to vote yes. This is contributing. Wooden rabbit, I can see what Pip is meaning, but that was key. But I'm very concerned also. The only thing that, I was not here at the last time, I somewhat think we may have had that conversation then instead of now, because it has gone back and everybody somewhat approved it to bring you back. But I will vote yes.
Ms. Wilson-Stredick?
No.
Mr. Testa?
Yes.
Mr. Carroll?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Mr. Cogswell?
Yes, reluctantly, but yes.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you. Next order of business, Yacht Harbor Marine LLC, 1505 Yacht Avenue, Block 1160, Lot 6, 6.017, non-contributing, construct 7 residential condominium units.
Mr. Chairman, John Halberter from the Highland Group.
Talk into the mic, please.
I'm sorry, could you repeat your name again, sir?
Sure. John Halbrunner, Halbruner,
Thank you.
from the Highland Group. Next to me is someone, a face you know well, Joe Ross.
Joseph Ross. I trade as Joseph Ross, RA LLC. I'm a licensed architect in the state of New Jersey.
Are you here as the architect?
No, and maybe that's what my role is just to introduce John. I've been involved in this project and brought this project before this AHPC previously for conceptual approval. In the 4 years I was involved, the client needed to go through NJDEP approvals and put his project back to the point where I was going into retirement. So as some of you know, I've been easing out of the profession over the last year and a half, and knowing that a final HPC would require construction drawings, and since I was not particularly interested in doing construction drawings on 7 condominium units in retirement, I sought out and enlisted Mr. Halbrunner to take the project over. And he has some, I think, positive changes to the project. So we're coming back in for basically a conceptual approval over again that incorporate those changes. And I really hope to be out of it at that point. So, Mr. Halbrunner is both a licensed architect and a licensed professional engineer.
Correct, both, yes.
And he shares an aesthetic and appreciation for architecture in Cape May, so I thought he'd be the appropriate person to take over the project.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm just quite honored to pick up the torch and carry it forward. And in the vein, as Joe's indicated, this did receive conceptual approval probably 6 months ago or so. And as the site plan portion of this project is winding on, we took the opportunity to take a look at the elevations and see if we could make a few modifications that we hope you agree enhance the development. And that is the plan that set this before you this evening. The footprint of the buildings has not changed. That'll never change given the difficulties with DEP approval they had. But we took some time to change the roof line and significantly increase the overhangs, change from a gable roof, from a hip roof to a gable roof, and from dog shed dormers to metal roof shed dormers. Changing some materials from, I think originally wood clapboard siding to now fiber cement board siding. Changing what was originally a stucco base at the garage level into brick, adding metal roofs, adding some ornamental brackets, and increasing some shadow lines with protruding bay windows. By and large, Joe's design remains intact. We're just kind of changing some of the embellishment on the outside. And would welcome your input. We're anxious to see how you receive these, and we'll take any suggestions you have, incorporate them as we move this project forward.
Yeah, this is, you may recall, we met on this before, and some of us were concerned about not only the height, but the appearance of the height, which this plan begins to address. So with that, I will open it up to discussion instead of going around the room. Does anyone have a comment on this application?
I'm more concerned about congestion, which is not our bag, but congestion down Yacht Avenue. You know, it's a real narrow street, and because today when I went down, I had to make a turnaround. I had to find a driveway I could turn around in. And, you know, just building up this area that at one point was just all boathouses, as Joe probably knows because he has one.
Well, fortunately for this, the reliance upon Yacht Avenue was very limited. You no sooner make the turn onto Yacht Avenue, and you'll be turning into the driveway, and then all the vehicular circulation will be on site.
Yeah, and we really don't want to dwell on that. This is the Historic Preservation Commission, we're not zoning, so.
I'll add to that, however, as John indicated, you will immediately drive into the site, and it has its own cul-de-sac and has the parking that we believe the zoning board will find adequate. So yes, the minute you go past this project, Yacht Avenue has difficulties.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll come in, and you'll immediately have your own courtyard
Yeah.
inside. So
There's no way you're going to improve traffic on Yacht Avenue, but I thought the arrangement of the way you handled the traffic inside the units was clever and effective. So I'd also like to say that I really don't think there's anything you've suggested here tonight in terms of the changes from when we gave this conceptual approval that I find objectionable at all. I think they're improvements.
one particularly noteworthy item that I'd like to have some dialogue on, and hopefully reflect in the minutes if you find it favorable, is the depth of the roof overhangs. We've extended out to 3 feet. We think it really helps ground the building, but it does and will necessitate setback relief at the zoning board. I recognize you don't have any authority over that, but if you agree that it is an enhancement, it might be helpful to have in the minutes that you support the use of the larger overhangs despite the fact it may require it.
And the current ones are now
I think they're originally 12 inches.
foot. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because those longer overhangs allow for a deeper bracket, and it breaks up the mass of it from the dormers up above, and it does, I think, a
Correct.
really good job reducing that mass.
And it gives us an opportunity to have some rafter tails that are exposed that'll be much more visible having that longer distance. But again, it does require a variance with the zoning board, and if you are favorable, look favorably upon it, it'd be helpful if the minutes could reflect that you did so.
That's just one of many elements that you've added that break up the mass and make it look a little bit more like individual townhouses. The overhanging roof sort of pulls the whole building down visually, like a bigger umbrella protects you, you know. I think those are all very good changes. The positioning of the buildings on the property also mean when you're coming down Washington Street, your view really is into the parking lot area with the screening around that, and the buildings are nicely set so they're more out of the way. They're on Yacht Avenue or down to the waterfront.
The brackets are, the brackets add a lot of feature, which we just talked about. They're said to be PVC, so are you making these brackets on site? I mean, how are you doing this with PVC?
Intex is a local PVC company that does railings and brackets, and they will custom fabricate the configuration that we seek. They're actually doing an excellent job with it.
And those brackets are, the dimensions are 4 inches? What,
They'll probably be more like 6 inches.
6?
Yeah, they're going to be substantive.
And they will be curved. Is that curved the same width as the angle bracket?
Yes, yes.
Do we have a dimension on the tail coming down? It appears to be like 4 feet, is that right?
It would be approximately 4 feet. We haven't gotten so far as to actually dimension that. We're hoping to get your blessing of the concept of it first. But it's every bit of 4 foot. It's probably closer to 4.5 feet on the vertical leg, and about 3
One of the
feet on the
things
horizontal leg.
that I'll look for on the motion is that detail comes back to the review committee. The way you've expressed it, I don't see a problem, but we want to make sure we have.
Well, he has
the file
to stick with conceptual, doesn't he? Because he's got to go for variance.
Okay, so he has to come back.
I believe he just said that.
Oh, no, no, we will very, very much be coming back for final approval.
Okay, so, sorry, then, when you come back, that
Absolutely.
detail.
Absolutely.
Other comments or questions? Anyone? Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we offer conceptual approval with the understanding that we are giving a blessing to the need for a zoning variance to allow the overhanging eaves to encroach on the property lines because they add so much to the street impact and keeping the building in keeping with the size of things on the street. And we also are saying that you, coming back for final, will certainly need the measurements on all those details on the plans.
Could we use the words strongly encourage instead of bless? If that's okay with you?
Strongly encourage. Okay. It's the religious side of it.
I just figured we'd keep God out of the application.
Thank you very much for your time. Much appreciated.
Just a minute.
Under God, you know?
I know.
Do I have a second?
Second the motion.
Motion by Mr. Carroll, seconded by Mr. Testa. Ms. Campbell?
Yes.
Mr. Cogswell?
Yes.
Ms. Pisagno? Ms. Wilson-Stridick?
Yes.
Mr. Testa?
Yes.
Mr. Carroll?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you very much.
Next order of business, Rubino, 24 Mount Vernon Avenue, Block 1014, Lot 3. This is a contributing property, talking about an elevation, an addition, a pool, and a garage.
Can I add a comment? Since you're from Hunt Valley, Maryland, you'd be interested to know that two of the guys sitting here went to McDonough School.
Oh, really? Well, my son went to Boys Latin and played.
So you'll have to recuse yourself? Is that what you're saying?
More than 200 yards away now.
It's not the age, it's the mileage, Tom.
Period, yeah.
Okay, we need name and function, relationship to the property, please. And speak into the mic. You have to turn that one on.
Yes, good evening. My name's Steve Fenwick. I'm a licensed architect and planner in the state of New Jersey. I'm here with Rob and Patty Rubino, the owners of the property. And, yeah, I can walk you through the project if you'd like.
Did we-
Oh, you need to swear ourselves in and all?
Not swear. No swearing.
Okay.
Just names, please.
My name is Robert Rubino, and I am, along with my wife Patty, current owner of the property at 24 Mount Vernon Avenue.
Patty Rubino, also current owner of 24 Mount Vernon.
Thank you. Okay. Dave, take it away.
So, yeah, so I don't know, I brought a large board, but I you know, we all have the same handout, so the boards are just enlargements of the application. I can bring them up if people want to see them better, but I notice everybody's being casual tonight, so I'll keep along with that. If you want, I'll take the easel out and bring out the board. So this project is listed as a contributing property. Interestingly enough, I still had in my old
Cape May HPC notebook, the old survey, which said it was non-contributing, but in 2006, it was non-contributing. 2013, it was listed as contributing, and the basis for that, if you read the review, was, the massing, the wood windows and frames, the foundation, which I didn't understand, and the exposed rafter tails, which are actually very unusual. I've never seen them before, and they're kind of cool. Okay, so the existing conditions, so everybody understands this house. First of all, I just want to say it's a very small house. It's 935 square feet. It sits on a very low piece of ground. It's elevation 3.4, has standing water. It's very low. It's almost like Claghorn. It's wet. There are some non-historic additions on the house that are listed in the survey. There's a back shed roof addition with a deck that's actually in the side yard setback by the driveway.
Steve?
Yeah.
Could I interrupt you for a second?
Sure.
I hate to do that, but.
No, sure.
Could we deal with the elevation before we go into the plan
The
design?
elevation,
Elevation, you're talking about elevating this property, yes?
yes.
So,
You want me to just talk about that, or don't you want me to talk about that when I talk about what we're doing with the building? I can tell you now that we need to lift the building to the base flood elevation. In this case, it's like 1 foot 8 inches approximately. We're not asking to lift it up an extra several feet so we could walk under the house, use the garage, not count the foyer for floor area, and all those advantages that the zoning allows, because I've been reading the paper, I know what you guys are concerned about, I agree with it. We went through it at Claghorn with Grenna, et cetera. So we're trying to keep the house appropriate looking.
well, no, it's important because they're two separate elements.
Sure.
You elevate the house for FEMA, and then we have to figure out what it's going to look like.
Yeah, well, in this case, thank goodness, not too bad.
But you're 1.8 onto the 3.4, and that gets you,
That gets
Where
us
you
to, yeah.
and there's no living space, there's no parking, and all those other things associated with elevating the property,
Yeah, let me get that out.
correct?
No living space, no. Right now, there's some utility stuff underneath, which doesn't comply, and the floor level doesn't comply. We would have to lift it to meet code. But we're not asking to go higher than where the zoning, as was mentioned in prior applications, would allow you to lift it. We still have plenty of height allowance and air, so we're not asking for that. We're trying to stay within an appropriate historic look.
Thank you, it's helpful. to
Yeah.
know what the base is, okay?
Yeah, and we can talk about that more, but, yeah. So there, I'm really reading from what the survey said. There's vinyl siding on the house, there's fiberglass asphalt shingles on the house. I think this is me. There's a front stoop in the front with, it's very non-historic. I mean, it's all dimensional lumber. It's pretty basic, and it has a side stair on it. There's also there was a shed there. I see it's no longer there, but like a Jed's shed, that's gone. And then, it's interesting that there's many construction code deficiencies in the house. And to give you a sense of it, there's no heat or air in this house. This house has no heat or air conditioning in it, right? And Patty does her laundry in her kitchen. So it is very small, this house. And I wasn't aware of that till I stopped over there tonight, that the kitchen, and it's on our as-built drawings, but I never really looked at it, It's like, wow, tight. So what we propose to do, we propose new wood siding, a cedar shingle roof. A lot of the windows in there, the old wood windows with the triple track storm and screens in the front, and a lot of them aren't working too good. So we're going to replace the windows with wood windows, not wood-right windows, like I know that was a problem in a job I had in the past. That won't happen, that was a mistake. And our design shows a new traditional entry step straight in, just the way it would have been. We were lucky to be able to get up and in, and the stoop would be removed. And we're proposing in the back, at the end of the driveway, a traditional garage. Historically appropriate traditional garage. So, yeah, code compliance, we need to lift it to flood elevation, just the minimum as required. We need to, so the house is gonna, meet all the structural requirements of the building code. It's sagging in the middle, it's got structural problems. It dips in the middle like so many old houses. It needs fire ratings on the sidewalls where it's close to the neighboring property. It needs smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors. The new windows will bring it up to code. It doesn't meet energy code. I mean, it's not heated or cooled. I mean, it's really, I haven't seen one like this really for a long time, maybe never. So we're going to heat it and cool it. We're going to insulate it, meet the energy code, and stabilize the structure. So we're going to bring it back to life. It's hurting. So I think I should walk you through the building, and I'm going to use the board because it's easier for me to do that. Is it okay if I stand over here?
Pick up the mic over there. Pick up the mic over there.
Oh, thank you. Sorry, Gordon. This is the existing house. It's just in your package, same thing. This is the addition in plan. This is the new garage. There's an enormous pool back here. It's 6.5 feet by 15 feet. It's like 2 hot tubs. It's tiny. It's tiny. It meets all the zoning. A nice side driveway. This is the new entryway. The old side stairs with rickety porch are gone. Oh, and everything meets the zoning with the exception of, it's very interesting, similar to the prior application for roof overhang, 2 prior applications maybe. Back in this corner, see the house is, it's 5 foot of setback and the house is like 4'11" or something like that. Yeah, and 4.7, I'm sorry. And we want to run the roof line down. We don't want to bring it back, And the Rubino said, all right, take it to the zoning board. I said, you're going to have to go to the zoning board for the roof overhang, Doesn't comply. There is a non-compliant deck here in the back that's gone bye-bye. And there was a shower back here. That's going. Okay.
Steve, before you move off of there,
Yeah.
the driveway currently stops where it is. Is there a reason why you wouldn't continue that driveway? You see your second car is in the front yard.
The reason we wouldn't continue the driveway all the way down?
Not all the way down.
Oh.
But
We have 2 spaces.
But what
mean,
we
it's a
look for is the cars to go beyond the front facade.
Oh.
So you're using a permeable drive?
Well, we were using pavers, which the zoning guys give us 50% for. There isn't anything better than that I'm aware of. There is a gravel driveway there now, which, I don't know, Skip would have told us that that's coverage, and so we could push this car back a little bit. We might I don't know.
Well, right now, that would require you to relocate your pool fence, right? You're going to
No.
open that up.
It's on the other
Go
side.
back that far. I think Warren just wants us to go back like 4 or 5 feet. Yeah, so we might need a coverage variance, so just like Tom was so kind to put in the words for the zoning board, because we have to go to the zoning board to encourage us to do that, maybe they'll give us that coverage variance.
You don't look like you have a coverage problem there. Yeah.
I gotta check that in the other file, but, if we don't, we won't ask for it, you know? So,
Okay, so
We'll try-
on that note, though, we're in agreement.
yes.
We want to add
absolutely.
something so we can get 2 cars past the front facade of the
Yes.
house.
Yes, yes. So, yeah, these are the floor plans. The darker area is the existing footprint. We're expanding the kitchen, dining, living room. Right now, there are 3 bedrooms downstairs, and there's only 1 bathroom in this house, 1 bedroom. No powder room. And it's a Jack and Jill between 2 bedrooms. You can't even get to it right from the living room without going through a bedroom. It's tiny. Okay, so, and then we propose to add 3 bedrooms on the top. So we're going from 3 bedrooms to 4 bedrooms. We have a foyer, you know, like as Warren, you were talking about flood elevation. I mean, I could drop the foyer a foot and then wouldn't count in FAR. It's like, really? So we just left it where it wants to be, and hopefully wiser minds will prevail. This talks about the floor areas. I want you to know, and I have a handout if you want it, that this is gross floor area, but the FAR is calculated differently. So in the FAR, the total is less than the 40% requirement, which would in this case be 1,800 feet. It's 1,700 and some odd feet. I have a handout with the calculation if you want it.
What is the current square footage of the living area, and how many square feet are you adding?
It's 935 feet, and we're adding 1,095 gross square feet.
Yeah, so you're doubling the size
Sheet
of
Yes,
A2.
we are.
Sheet A2. Sheet
the...
But on the-
Yeah,
But it meets the, as you were saying, you know, about trying to fulfill the allowances, as Tom was saying, you know, the zoning allows 1,800 square feet in floor to area ratio, and we're below that. And we have a tiny house. Okay, so, these are just views of the house from the, this is from the front of the house on the right side, and this is the front of the house on the left side. This is the garage. And, you know, with these computers we have today, you can actually set your eye level at 5 feet. So that's what you're gonna see when you, along the street. That's what you see along the street.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
In the survey, it talks about a chimney. Can you explain where that existing chimney is?
I can. I'm gonna show it to you on a photograph. It's easier.
Okay.
It's kind of in the middle of the house. It's really a very basic smoky stove and chimney, you know? This is nothing of any, I don't know why they talk about it. I don't know why they talked about the foundation.
I think it's
If you
because
look-
the original foundation was brick, is I think what they're, I think that's why.
Yeah, it's stucco over brick.
Right.
Well, we're proposing all new brick foundation. All new brick foundation, all new wood siding, all new wood windows, cedar shingle roof. The Rubino said, let's make it really nice, let's meet all the historical standards. I should have introduced the Rubinos and had them talk to you guys about their, do we go back to that at the end, or we're okay, we're okay? So I'm just gonna keep going. We're gonna, well, here's the chimney. You can see it, it pokes out of the middle, you know.
If I
But
could
there's
just
no heat in
add
the house.
something,
Must be for the water heater, I don't even know.
the
There was a space heater?
The chimney had been removed from the interior of the house before we bought the house. You can see in the ceiling where they had, I guess it was to open it up a little bit more. You can see in the ceiling where there's a metal plaque up there.
Yeah, we
But-
did that house on Windsor, Bob, back with you guys during the COVID, and it had, it's a similar bungalow kind of building, and it had a chimney right in the middle.
I'm guessing that the stovepipe coming out on view from left is your hot water heater?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Since the chimney's gone from the inside of the house? Yeah, okay.
As a matter of fact, our hot water heater is actually under the house.
Right, which you can't remain there anymore.
But there's no place else for it.
Right. So, yeah, and, so these are the streetscape photographs that are so important. To the left of the house on Mount Vernon, is a garage, but it's 32 First Avenue, and this is around the corner on Second Avenue, and I think what's crazy about is the house next to it on the right. First of all, it's like tiny, tiny lot. I thought it was attached to the other house on the corner. It's not. There's a gap this wide. Yeah, you can almost reach across. And it must have been approved by the board, but no more, right? So it's got, that's what the zoning allows. So we're not doing that. We're not asking for that, and, yeah, it's a woofer. Yeah, this is the survey of the existing. I just put it on the board. I don't know, it's in your package. It kind of gives you the grades, shows you how low everything is, I mean, it's low. So, yeah, I mean,
Where you put a pool in?
the floor right now is just a little under 5 feet from the dirt right now. It's like right here, actually. So we're gonna take it up to here. Yeah, that's really it. The height is not an issue. It's way below the allowed height. It's a half-story kind of thing. A lot of the houses in the area of this type that have been added to over the years, I can hand out that to you. I have that. A lot of them are two-story additions. This one, we're running the rafters down, so it's kind of a 1.5-story house in the back. I know it's bigger than what you want, and I thought about that long and hard, and we're here to talk about it. We did do a house on 27 Second Avenue. I brought that with me. I could pass it out if you want. That was a tiny little house. It was a contributing house, and the board in their wisdom, I believe their wisdom, gave us permission to knock it down, and we built a new house similar to that house. I'm going to hand it out. And
That's all right. I would,
don't need it?
well, each application is evaluated on its own.
Exactly. There's no prevailing regulation.
Yes.
That's what I'm trying to say. So it turned out really great. It's great for the streetscape. It's great for the community. The other house was really not that great. Okay. So yeah.
Well, we'll go around the room on this.
Okay.
You're through, right, Steve?
I got a whole nother page, and I'll pass on it. No, go ahead, because, it's all talking about things that we don't need to talk about yet, so.
Okay, sorry to interrupt.
No.
Jim, you want to start?
Oh, I guess if I have to. I appreciate the effort you made on this. I think your proposed rise is very modest. I think your materials sheet and your materials proposed are all excellent and appropriate. It is the size issue that we've been talking about before that, that troubles me. And I do appreciate that you are within all the bounds, and I am troubled by the size issue, but I think that otherwise, if you don't get this kind of space inside, you might as well not have a house. It's just, and what you're describing is a house in such terrible condition that it's so small and so dysfunctional. I'm not sure why we would want you to make something that doesn't at least meet your family's needs within what the law allows. So I'm troubled by the size. I'm troubled by the fact that this is classified as a contributing property. I know I'm supposed to be bound by that designation, but in my heart of hearts, I don't think it contributes very much. So I do feel that I would allow more here for those reasons, and more latitude for you to go forward with the plan. So as submitted and recognizing you're going for variances, this is a conceptual, you've circled final, but it's conceptual. So I would support this in its conceptual approach.
Thank you.
Jake?
Excuse me, I agree with Jim that I have some concerns about the massing, but I believe, it will be an improvement to the neighborhood the way you're doing the place.
Janice?
I really share the concern about, the size. And obviously, it's a much improved design with great materials. It would certainly increase property values. There's no doubt about that. That's all I have to say.
Pip?
I don't really have any comment.
Tom?
This approval that we're considering is really very much in keeping with what we've done on both Washington Street and Windsor, where we have bungalow-style houses that want more space, need more space, and they've kept the additions in the back, which I certainly approve more than the demolition of the entire house and getting all new construction, particularly one that's contributing. So, I think this is good, and frankly, I don't think this is half as big as many others that we've looked at, some very recently, as far as added space to the house. And I thank you for taking on this challenge. I'm all for it.
Corbin?
Yeah, I can't complain about it. I mean, most of the addition is the bedrooms on the second floor. Right. That's doubling the size of it, and it's very tastefully done, and you can tell where the additions are.
Right. We tried to keep the front as intact as we could, which we read in all the, the guidelines.
So, I like it. Any thoughts about opening up the front porch to just be a screen porch?
It's interesting that you said that. We can talk about that, but I was looking at I had somebody helping me, read the Sanborn maps, and they said that was enclosed in 1930.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
So-
they had to get more rooms, and that's,
So I don't know. I mean, do we want to talk about that, Rob? I mean,
I would just add that personally, we really enjoy a screened-in porch. The one problem we do run into is that with the rain, a lot of times it gets wet in there. So ideally, I would like to have windows you could open up, and then it could either be screened or enclosed for the weather purposes.
well, yeah. I was just throwing that out as, as a question. I agree with you, screen windows, the first house we owned up here, we never air conditioned it until we did a lot of renovation. Then we knew in order to get resale, we would have to have central air conditioning. But we rented it for a number of years, and only one of our tenants asked for air conditioning, so plenty of breezes down here.
Oh, yes, yes.
Lorraine, did you want to, I should comment, Lorraine is a member of City Council, she's a liaison, doesn't vote, but we encourage participation, so she shows up. Any comment? All right. B?
I pretty much am in accord with Jim. You know, we have a conundrum here between idealism and pragmatism. And I do believe that if they are going to do anything and make it noteworthy, they have to do what they're going to do. And I want to thank everyone for doing everything they could do to conform to all that was asked and required. And I really think it's going to be quite an improvement and is very emblematic of our brand that we have now. So I thank you for all your efforts.
Thank you, Pete.
John?
Yes, I have nothing to add other than I think you did a very clever job articulating the mass in 5 different steps between the front and the back. So it's actually handled quite well for such a modest little initial box.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I would agree with the comments and really appreciate the materials list. One add on the material list is the gelled windows are, depending on the model, is clad. And that same exact window is available primed. And we would ask you to provide a cut sheet
Sure.
that shows that the exterior of the wood window is primed,
Sure.
not
Sure, absolutely. Okay, so it's not clear on our.
Well, you say wood, but you don't say wood and primed.
You're right. I think it's on the checklist, it says wood, but our intention is to have a wood window. Frankly, the gelled window is very kind of unadorned. It's not really that traditional looking. We could try to get one. See, the Marvins aren't sealed at all. You have to finish them on site, but there's a Sierra Pacific I'm going to look into that they have a wood window that might have a better profile than the gel one. So it's our intent to do what you want, and we'll put a cut sheet. So we're gonna go to the zoning board, get the setback, and then we would come back here with the working drawings for final?
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
Yes, right.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
and
I've only been
with the
doing
cut
this
sheet.
since the 80s, and I still don't know how to do it.
I will put it aside. Most of the double hung windows you get today, you can get an outside screen with them. So if you like screens, you can get them. They're made for the windows that you get, so.
Thank you, Court.
So I have a
So
motion?
if acceptable, I'd move conceptual approval for the application as submitted, understanding you'll be returning to us after you go through further processes.
With the cut sheet on the gelled wind.
But of course, they would submit that as part of the final, all cut sheets and construction drawings.
Yes, we're going to detail the rafter tails and everything, yeah. Yeah, they're really cool, these rafter tails, I've never seen them. They're like carved in like a linear shape. Usually you get the little scroll at the end and it's a flat side. These are really cool.
I'll second your motion.
Glad to hear that, because otherwise it wouldn't go anywhere.
Motion by Mr. Testa, seconded by Mr. Cogswell. Ms. Campbell?
Yes.
Mr. Cogswell?
Yes.
Ms. Pisagno?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson-Stredick?
Yes.
Mr. Testa?
Yes.
Mr. Carroll?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much for your time, consideration.
Thanks, Tom.
Next order of business is Roddy, 12 South Broadway, Block 1016, Lot 7 and 8. This is a two-story rear addition with a screen porch and a deck. The mic is, turn the mic on, please. Yeah, thank you. Okay, go.
Good
Take it
evening.
away.
My name is Paul Kiss. I'm a licensed architect in the state of New Jersey, and I'm the project architect. And my clients will introduce themselves.
Hi, Eric Roddy. I'm half of the property owner.
Susan Roddy, the other half.
Thank you.
Okay, Eric and Susan are longtime Cape May visitors. They have family here for forever, and always dreamed about owning a historic home, and now they finally have that opportunity. So they were able to purchase 12 South Broadway from the descendants of the original owners. It was in that family for generations. The house is essentially original to a certain extent. It's one of the houses from South Cape May that was moved to Cape May, as you probably all know. Some modifications were made. The front steps, the tower was enclosed, some other things. Unfortunately, not much was done in the way of maintenance, especially over the past couple decades. So the house is in need of mechanical systems, electrical upgrades, energy efficiency upgrades to really bring it up to modern standards and to set the house up for future generations of the Roddy family, which is their intent. With that, I can walk through where the different additions are and what changes we're proposing. So first I have the overall site plan. The swimming pool and fence was previously approved in committee. We submitted the drawing, the landscape, the rendering of that. So the original house and porch are basically the area I'm outlining. There's a screened porch to the rear of the property. So we're proposing the addition to the rear of the property, so it's going straight back in a linear fashion. Taking basically the footprint of the screen porch that's there and the materials and the look of it and tucking it in on the side behind the front porch and partially behind the front part of the building. So if I go to the first floor plan, that's a larger version of that. Oh, sorry. The front steps that go up to the front porch are kind of this massive brick construction. I don't know when that was built, but certainly not when the house was moved here. We feel that those should be wood steps and a wood railing to match the front porch. So that's our proposal. So some of the interior changes include remaking the kitchen into something that's consistent with today's standards, creating a mudroom side entry. Showers and laundry and all that are in the basement now, so that is not acceptable. So we're moving those up to the first floor. And then going back from there would be a bedroom addition, a bedroom bathroom. There is, on the side of the living room, a pair of French doors proposed to lead out to the porch, flanking a fireplace. They're originally, I believe there's a triangular shape that is usually two fireplaces with a chimney going up through. Those were removed at some point. The triangles are still there. The foundation is under there, but everything else is gone. On the second floor, the existing second floor there's one bedroom and a small little bathroom on the side, and that's serving the 3 bedrooms that exist on the second floor. The proposal is to expand back, add a bedroom suite in the back, a bunk room for kids and cousins and so forth, and then another bathroom that's shared by the front 2 bedrooms. The existing third floor is kind of a dorm-style bedroom area. There's a kind of an attic space here. The couple of changes up here that we're proposing are to do 2 small shed dormers, which I can show you on the elevations, primarily to provide an egress window for safety, and then to reopen the lookout tower, which was enclosed at some point. We have a 1977 photo that shows it enclosed. Outside materials, the intent is to restore whatever needs restoring in original materials, wood clapboard siding, wood shingle roof, and replicate all that on the additions with the same materials. We'd like to put the shutters back that historically were on the house and are sort of haphazard. Some are there, some are not right now. When the Roddies bought the house, they were told the shutters were in the basement, and they're not. So these will be all new wood shutters, operable exactly as you described for a previous application, proportioned properly for the windows. Then, let's see. The addition, basically the same types of materials. The windows are, some are newer, some are older. They're all in pretty bad shape. Some have storm windows, some don't. So we'd like to put new windows in. Wood, non-clad windows, authentic divided lights. And then there's a garage building in the back left of the property. And it looks exactly like this, and we'd like to restore it to look exactly like this, and maybe stand it up straight. So then the renderings show a photograph of today, well, not today, but recently, and then the rendering showing the opened up tower, the new shutters, and the addition, which is visible down the side, and the new wooden steps. The fence in the front would be restored as in place. Then the rendering from the other side shows the yard. The pool's going to be here with the landscaping and pool fence back, coming off the back corner of the existing porch. And then the screen porch tucked in behind, and the addition kind of tucked in. You can see the dormer up at the top there, just sort of peeking out, but mostly not visible, and then the garage. And then a couple of historic photos, the 1977 photo, one of the other houses that was in South Cape May, and we think that this, from the book about this, might be this house, but it's not really easy to determine that. And that's, I think,
Good,
pretty
thank
much
you.
it.
Just before we go around the room, the windows. Colby has two finishes, has a latex primer, and it has a K-Chrome 2 or something. They're very mysterious about what K-Chrome 2 is. Therefore, I would ask you to do the latex primer.
The latex primer, sure.
Because my suspicion is it's clad.
It's not clad, it's a factory coating, but it's a heavy industrial coating. I'm familiar with it. It's paint, but it's not the look you're looking for.
No.
I understand that, yeah.
No, and it's an interesting dry process or something. I mean, and they are very quiet about what it is because.
Well, it's proprietary.
That's one reason.
At any rate, we'll try to go around the room quickly here. John, you have any comments?
Just a couple really quick things. It's a very small detail, following up on the windows. You report on your materials that it's 1/9, it's 9/1.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I think that, this is, the architect who designed this original house, Mr. Button, was a very significant architect here in town. Many houses, like on Columbia Avenue, for example, and the house next door looks like it was a sister house, and I went and looked at it, and the addition that has been put onto that house is almost identical to what you guys are proposing, and I think you've beautiful, sensitive job here, including the opening up of that really exquisite third-floor porch. I want to go hang out up there. So, thank you.
B?
I have to agree with John. It's very mysterious.
Lorraine?
We'd like to buy it.
Corbin?
Yeah, I like it. I mean, it's very tastefully done. Obviously, there's a picture of a house, the sister house with the open tower, like maybe it was for a ship captain or a ship captain's family to look out and see if the boat's coming back. So, and fortunately, they were able to move a number of the South Cape May houses before 1962, when it was completely wiped out. No, I like it. So,
Tom?
I think you've covered every detail we possibly. You make our life very pleasant, too.
Thank you.
Pip?
I was thinking the same thing, yeah. This is really nicely done, and I think illustrates, I mean, it is hard in this day and age. People want things all different than they did in the 1900s, when the maid went downstairs and did the laundry, right? But I think it's so important to be able to illustrate a historically tasteful and appropriate way of increasing living space. This is a great example.
Thank you.
Janice?
Yeah, I feel the same. I love that house. I walk my dog by that house a lot. I've spoken with the previous owner, the architect owner of a family where the rest of the family didn't understand how architects just love houses. My husband's an architect, so, and we went through it when it was for sale, not because we could afford it, but we just loved the house, and we were disappointed how cut up it was, and you've done a really nice job of making it super livable, but retaining and even restoring that open up and the front porch. It's exciting to see a house come. It was a great house, even just left as it was, but now it's going to be even greater.
Well, I think you've crafted an addition that looks like it's always been there.
Yes.
I mean, you would never know. It looks like it was built when the house was built. Great job.
Thank you.
I kind of feel like saying amen. But in addition, that I know it'll be objected to because it sounds religious. But let me just say that I think this was a house that was lucky to be saved and be brought to where it is. And I think we've all seen the situation where over time and other circumstances, maintenance has gone down on it. It becomes a rescue job. It's very clear that you're set on rescuing it in a number of ways, but most importantly, rescuing it the way it looks. And there isn't a thing that you've done here, credit to the architect, but a thing that you've done here that in any way deprecates from a really fine, outstanding, contributing house. So terrific.
Thank you.
I would echo the comments from around the room. I would ask in the motion, we're clear on the primed windows. And this previously approved fence and all that and the pool, the landscaping is indicated on here, but there's no detail. Can we get some detail on this landscaping plan? Because
I think to be clear, it's a little bit early in the design for that, but what you do see here are some of the things that are already there. The two crepe myrtles in the front of the home, we really enjoy those trees, and we're probably going to try to replicate that in the new area, which is around the pool area. So what Paul's done in the drawing here in front of the pool, I mean.
Well, this is
Yeah.
a row of hydrangeas.
Yeah.
This is crepe myrtles, again, similar.
I think it would be pretty close to what you see in that drawing,
Well,
which is different than
but
the
this-
schematic.
But this is the time for the HPC to document what is planned. Because we can talk about all kinds of things here, but then the compliance officer is out, if we don't have a plan, you could put cactus or something, but I would like to
You would
have part of
not
the
be
motion.
seeking any variances or anything like that?
No variances.
Right, so, which is why you've circled final approval
Yes.
on the sheet. So could we do a final approval, but subject to conditions for submittal that include a landscaping plan and I guess full cut sheets, including the type of window you're actually going to use, as we suggested?
latex primer.
That sounds like a motion.
It is. I'm just trying to figure out whether we're going there. I assume we are. So,
Motion on your-
all right. So I'll make that motion to grant final approval to this as submitted, but subject to the furnishing of of those items, including a landscaping plan and specifications on the windows that we just talked about with a latex primer if they're Colby windows. Did I miss anything else we want to do?
Lighting, light fixtures. So we intended to submit to a review committee if that's appropriate.
Yep.
And would these also be able to be submitted to review committee? The landscape plan and window specifications?
Yeah, so we'll add that, a lighting, detail on the lighting fixtures. Preconditions.
We're thinking possibly a couple of gas lanterns in the front and then ceiling mounted fixtures, appropriate ceiling mounted fixtures.
Yeah, with a
So
appropriate design on the fans and things.
we trust our review committee to review them.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Testa, seconded by Mr. Cogswell. Ms. Campbell?
Yes.
Mr. Cogswell?
Yes.
Ms. Pisagno?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson-Stritick?
Yes.
Mr. Testa?
Yes.
Mr. Carroll?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
Thanks.
Next order of business is Wood, 413 Broadway, Block 1032, Lot 1. This is a contributing property. The plan to remove a dormer, construct a second floor wall and deck, and enclose a porch.
Hi, good evening.
You might want to bring that a little closer. There you go. Thank you. You might want to put it back a little bit.
I can see it from here.
Back a little bit.
It's not going to make a difference. I can see it from here.
Okay.
All right. Joseph Quarter Architects, licensed in New Jersey.
Michael Wood, I'm currently the building owner.
Thank you.
Okay, what we're proposing here, and it really is primarily an attic. It's a functional attic renovation, and at the present time, the existing windows don't meet egress, which concerned me a little bit, but I didn't want to change them. What we decided to do, there's a stairway leading down from the attic floor down to the second floor, narrow stairway. But my feeling is that if there's any issue about fires, we'd be in trouble with that attic area, and it is used for sleeping. It's a functional attic, and so what we've decided to do is take the one side of the building where there's always there is an existing screen porch with the roof there. Remove that roof and put a fiberglass deck there, and then have a doorway leading out to the deck, and that would provide two benefits. One is that would by going to the deck and then going down a fire stair from the deck to the lower deck, it would be an egress, fire egress, but also it would be a benefit to the people who are living there, because they could go out on this fiberglass deck and enjoy the fresh air and stuff. And it's the only place you can really see it from the street is really from Broadway, and it's really set back a bit. But what we've done is remove the shed dormer that was there and put a small A-roof dormer there so that we could put in a doorway out to this deck. And the other thing that we wanted to do, and with the screen porch below the deck, is actually to make that a three-season room by putting windows where the screens are now, but it'd be identical. I mean, the structure would be the same.
Joe, when I was looking through this, I was trying to find a good diagram of the finished product. So should I be looking at these sheets?
Yeah, yeah, I mean, those are my, my architectural drawings, which you could, you could see.
So A1 is pretty much that picture showing us with the deck and the staircase coming down towards the backyard and on down from there.
Yeah, well, that staircase going to the backyard is existing. It's an existing stairway getting up to that second floor. Originally, this obviously was a house, and then it was a huge addition put on the back to make it a restaurant, so that the access to the second floor is no longer through the restaurant level, but it's a stairway up the back side of the house to get up to a screen porch and then entry into the second floor.
So the only real thing we're talking about is taking a sloped roof and making it a deck and adding a staircase from there down to connect with the existing staircase down to the ground.
Correct.
And that's on the very less visible side of the house.
It's on the
It's on the Broadway side.
Side of Broadway.
But it's, yeah, but it's set back a ways, and there's a big tree there too, which I didn't show on my drawings, but.
And the staircase wouldn't really be visible because it's hidden by the structure.
Oh, yeah, I mean, whatever the fire stair ladder sort of thing that I show there would be a permanent stairway, fire stair. But you wouldn't even see it from the Broadway side. The only thing you're going to really, the most prominent thing would be that A dormer, which has a door in it out to the deck. That would be the main change there visually.
In your list of materials, you say that it's a fiberglass deck. What do you mean by a fiberglass deck?
Well, the deck surface itself is...
What is the actual material?
It's fiberglass.
This is a contributing structure.
Yes.
Okay.
But now there's a roof there. Now we're making it a fiberglass roof. I mean, that's sort of common today in terms of outdoor decks, fiberglass.
But this is not a common.
It may be real common, but not
Okay, well, give me a suggestion.
Wood.
Well, it would have to be, I mean, it's over a screen porch or now maybe an enclosed room below, so it'd have to be water, it'd have to be treated so that water can get through there, obviously. We could make it out of wood, but then you're going to have a some kind of a paint job on there that would be water resistant.
Well, or
Many of us do have decks that do that.
or underneath, you could make it waterproof and then a wood deck on top.
Or wood with acromax on top of it.
The point we're making is just that pure fiberglass and manufactured material is not considered appropriate.
Well, how about if we did a fiberglass deck with then a wood deck on top of it, so that the water would go through the wood deck and then get to the fiberglass deck and just run off? That would work. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Sure, not a problem.
Other comments, questions about this application?
I just had a question regarding the ladder.
Yeah.
What is it made of? Metal? Is it wood?
No, it's going to be a permanent wood. Well, I'm not sure exactly how to describe it. I mean, it wouldn't be like a ladder. It would be actually a very steep stair. Would have railings on both sides, so you would climb down like you would a ladder backwards.
Yeah, I just think maybe you should submit a further detail regarding.
Well, I could submit a detail of that ladder. I haven't made a detail of it yet.
So you really don't know.
Right, yeah. Okay, I could submit a detail of how I envision this.
It's a very steep.
It's steep, there's steps, but it's a steep step, because otherwise,
A ship's ladder.
yeah, like a ship's ladder, yeah, something like that.
That's, yeah, we have one of those at the church going from the attic all the way up into the top for our air conditioning.
Okay.
And you can walk it both ways. Easier to back down.
Yeah. Yes.
So while we're talking about details, there's three that I can't discern what you're proposing. One is the third floor railing, because you say that it's just cedar, but don't have any idea how big the pickets are or whether it's painted or So that's one. Two is the new fence detail, because there's a significant fence there now, and I know we can't see much of it, but there's no detail of what the fence is. And the third is...
You talk about the ground level fence.
Correct.
Yeah, and what we're doing is just reducing the size of that storage trash area by, just reducing and pushing the fence back, and then putting a fence along the back side of the kitchen, because that's where the air conditioning units are and the kitchen.
Correct. I'm not questioning the
Yeah.
fence's existence. I'm just questioning, what does it look like? There's no
Yeah,
detail of it.
see,
We can't-
see, that's why cut sheets are useful
Yeah.
for us to
Yeah,
see.
See, a cut
would
sheet, I
be
think of
it would
the
be-
railing, the fence, and the new
Okay,
wood door.
it would be exactly what was there now, the fence. It's a
But it doesn't say
stockade,
that.
a stockade fence.
But it doesn't say that anywhere. So when
Oh.
our compliance officer is in the field, he has nothing, or she has nothing to which to compare what's in the field with what you're proposing. That's all.
Okay, so you
What we're
want a cut
approving,
sheet of a
that's all.
stockade fence and a detail of the stair, the
Well,
fire stair.
I'm not done yet. So I said there's three things: the railing, the fence, and there's no cut sheet of the new door that you're installing in the new dormer. The material sheet says it's wood and glass, but is it clad or is it painted wood? I mean, we need to see a cut sheet of that, okay?
Okay.
Other comments? This, the windows, again, you provided a cut sheet, but Geldwind is really clever the way they do this. In the absence of specifically asking for a primed window, they're clad. So we would ask that the window be primed. So the cut sheet that's here has to be changed.
Oh, the cut sheet, what it showed a clad window?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
they're
that's
clad unless it says primed.
primed, okay.
So it is available, you can get,
We
you can't
will-
get it off the internet, but you can get it from your supplier.
Okay.
And the windows, maybe I was not paying attention. Are you replacing all the windows?
Where? No, we're replacing the screens with windows.
Yeah, the existing structure has screens and the ground's all rotted from the rain coming in. And where you're putting that door to walk out on the deck is a storm window currently.
How many windows are you installing?
Well, do you know how many screens there are down there? I didn't count them all. They're probably,
Second floor screen porch,
Yeah.
we're going to make it windows instead of screens.
that's correct.
We'll need a number of those, and of course, the cut sheet on that.
Okay.
Cut sheet on the door, on the third floor,
Okay.
and second floor. Are you replacing a door on the second floor? Or is it?
No,
The door's turning into a window, right, then on the second floor?
The drawings say new door and
You
window.
mean the door to the screen porch, which is now going to be a three-season room?
Yeah.
Is going to be a different door, right? That'll be
And we'll need a cut sheet on
a cut sheet on that door, yes.
I don't think we can do final with all these changes. I think you're going to have to come back. So all these issues are in the resolution. I'm still not clear on how many windows you're replacing. A couple of us visited this property not too long ago, and some of those wood windows are easily repairable. So
I don't think we're talking about replacing any
We're not replacing any existing windows.
screens.
We're just replacing screens with windows.
the screen, on the second floor porch.
Yeah. Yeah, otherwise we're not touching the windows.
Wait a minute, that's not what the drawings say.
Well,
The drawings say remove screens and install windows to fit. And it looks like there's 9 of them.
which is why you've said Geldwin windows in your materials sheet.
Yes.
So there are windows going in.
Going in, but they're not being, they're not, yeah, no, they're in what is now a screen porch is going to be windows.
You don't, yeah, but it doesn't matter whether it's inside or outside, it's still a window. right?
Yeah,
That's what we're
windows.
talking about. One of the things that we find helpful, and you've done a substantial response in the materials sheet, but every time you do that, and where there is something like a door, like a window, it automatically, we're going to ask you for cut sheets on them.
Okay.
So fill in the material sheet, but also supply.
Supply all the cut sheets, yeah,
We wouldn't be bugging you like this.
right, I understand.
It could probably come back to the review committee, don't you think?
I think there's a lot of changes.
I'd like to see it again.
Okay.
I mean,
I know,
Conceptual approval for the concept, but we want to see the cut sheets and everything else to make sure that, you know,
so as far as structurally, you're okay with that A dormer with the door in it? Because that was my biggest concern. Yeah, okay, so now basically it's the materials and cut, okay.
And all that, the reasons for it.
Right.
But we just got to make sure what we're approving is compatible with our material list that we enforce.
Fine.
Won't hold you up from opening, will it?
What's
Won't
that?
hold you up from opening now, will it?
No, well, the restaurant, I don't know if you've been to Grana, excellent. I went on Mother's Day. I'm leasing it to Carl Messick, who used to be the chef at Peter Shields. Phenomenal.
Yeah,
All right.
that's great.
Yeah, I saw it. It looks good.
Yeah. The food was delicious, too.
So
I have a
we
motion?
could make a motion here to grant conceptual approval, I mean, recognizing you're going to have to come back with final. And I guess we could start going through the things that, I mean, conceptual approval is there. We can go through the fact that you'll need to show us cut sheets for the windows you intend to install, what else am I missing here? For the ladder, stairway, if that's a prefab.
Well, a detail, I think, I'm not sure I can find a cut sheet for that.
no, I
I'm
didn't know whether it was a
going to have to design it.
So it's not a prefab, it's.
No,
gonna-
it's not prefab, it's going to be custom made
then
for that
detailed
location.
construction.
Yeah.
What else am I leaving out?
Railings, fence, doors, windows,
There you go, John.
deck.
Railings, decks, doors. I mean, the conceptual approval's there. You realize the
Yeah,
final one's going to have to be.
I can give you a detail of the railing around the deck, sure.
If you see it there, detail it.
Yes, okay.
Was that a motion?
It was, but it was really sloppy. I mean, Judy, is it clear enough, the number of things I enumerated that go along with the
Well,
conceptual?
It's wood deck. If it's over fiberglass, we're really indifferent, but
It's going to be a wood deck.
Yeah, you will see a wood deck, you will not see fiberglass, yeah.
do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you.
Motion by Mr. Testa, seconded by Mr. Carroll. Ms. Campbell?
Yes.
Mr. Cogswell?
yes.
Ms. Pisagno?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson Stridick?
Yes.
Mr. Testa?
Yes?
Mr. Carroll?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
All set? Okay, thank you.
Good night.
Next order of business is Hobrow, Inc., 301 South Beach Avenue, Block 1014, Lot 13, and this is for a demo. It's been a long evening. I appreciate your patience.
We'll be brief.
I bet.
No, we really will be. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, board members. Ron Gelzunis appearing on behalf of Hobrow, Inc. That is really the Hober family, a local Cape May family. This property's been in their name a very long time, since the
Excuse me, but-
1960s.
You are
Chris McDowell?
into the mic so we can record it. Did you get the first name, Judy?
Chris McDowell?
No, the other gentleman's name.
Ron Gelzunis. Ron Gelzunis, Gelzunas. Okay, as you indicated, the property's 301 South Beach Avenue. It's currently occupied by a 25-unit motel and living quarters. It was constructed in the 1960s. It consists of two basically square block buildings connected in an L shape, and it's not a contributing structure. The planning board application for a subdivision was granted for a 2-lot subdivision, along with some variances for 2 new single-family homes to be constructed at some point in the future. The homes will both face Beach Avenue. That was a condition of approval. They conform with all bulk requirements, setback requirements, height, and whatnot. The lots are just a little bit undersized. The house on the corner, the driveway is required to face First Avenue and
Could I
not Beach
interrupt
Avenue.
you for a second? There's 2 issues here. First is the demolition. And I think we can speculate what the answers are, but we need an answer to the 9 points of demolition. And it's a separate
Right.
motion.
So as I indicated, it's not a contributing structure. The proposal is to obtain a certificate of
Do you
appropriateness to
have the 9
demolish.
points to refer to?
Yeah, they're actually in the application, so you need to make your proof on those.
So if you'd read those into the record, and then we can make
The
a motion.
application is part of the record. I'll move the application into the record.
The 9 points in the back.
Right. Oh, these? Okay. I hope I have a complete copy of the application.
Yeah, that's it.
Do I? Okay, well, that's the ordinance attached to the application. All right, so I do have some images I'd like to display,
Excuse
which I
me.
think are very helpful.
I must not be communicating clearly. For demolition in Cape May, there's 9 points that have to be satisfied. Do you have the 9 points that you could read and then answer yes or no?
Are you referring to the 9 points in these, in the ordinance?
525-40. And what you need to do is give us testimony on each of those points so we can come to a conclusion.
Oh, okay. Yep, no, I had, all right. Okay, no, I mean, can I just keep hang this? Okay, 1, it's historic, architectural, cultural, and aesthetic significance. Well, let me get some background. Chris, you've been involved with Hobro Inc. and the Hobro family for how long?
That's my wife, 30.
And the property, 35 years, and the properties in the family, how long?
59.
Okay, and it's been owned by the family?
Yes.
I think your father-in-law constructed it?
Yes.
All right, so to your knowledge, is there any historic, architectural, cultural, aesthetic significance of the property?
No.
All right, and its current potential use for those purposes currently permitted by this ordinance for the use proposed? So it's proposed for 2 single-family homes?
Yes.
Right, and there's no plans for those homes, correct?
Not yet.
They're gonna have,
We'll
you'll,
submit them when people buy the lots, and they'll come with their drawings to the board.
okay, so they'll have to come before the board
Yes, they'll have to
and
come
get
from
approved?
HPC, yes.
All right, historical, architectural value is such that its removal would be detrimental to the integrity of the historic property or district and in the public interest. So you indicated this was constructed in 59, 60?
Yeah, 63.
And this is essentially a square block building?
Yes, it's a concrete block building.
Would you just answer the question, though? Would you read the question again?
Its importance to the municipality and the extent to which its historical or architectural value is such that its removal would be detrimental to the integrity of the historic property or district and the public interest. Would its removal be that?
No.
Thank you.
Number 4, the extent to which it is of such old, unusual, or uncommon design, craftsmanship, texture, or material that it could not be reproduced or be reproduced only with great difficulty. Is that the case with this cinder block square building? 5, the extent to which its retention would increase property values, promote business, create new positions, attract tourists, students, writers, historians, artists, and artisans, attract new residents, encourage study and interest in American history, stimulate interest in study in architecture and design, educate citizens in American culture and heritage, or make the municipality a more attractive and desirable place in which to live. Does this building accomplish that?
No.
6, the impact of its removal upon the historic district. Will there be any impact in removing this cinder block square building?
No.
7, the structural soundness and integrity of the building and the economic feasibility of restoring or rehabilitating the structure so as to comply with the requirements of the applicable building code.
Doesn't pertain to it.
Okay. 8, the compelling reasons for not retaining the structure or improvement at its present site, the proximity of the proposed new location and its accessibility to residents of the municipality, and the probability of significant damage to the structure or improvement as a result of the relocation. So the building's not being relocated, it's going to be demolished. Number 9, the compatibility, nature, and character of the current and the proposed surrounding areas as they relate to the intent and purpose of this article, and whether the proposed new location is visually compatible in accordance with the standards set forth herein. So again, it's not being relocated, it's being demolished,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Okay. So, sorry, thank you.
So,
So I have some aerial photographs, which I think aid
Thank you.
so we've gotten the testimony now. I'd like to move for the granting of a demolition permit based on the testimony.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Testa, seconded by Mr. Cogswell. Ms. Campbell?
Yes.
Mr. Cogswell?
Yes.
Ms. Pisagno?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson Stredick?
Yes.
Mr. Testa?
Yes?
Mr. Carroll?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Very good, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
What's the name of this hotel?
The Mount Vernon?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, why were there 2 other applications
Yeah.
in our pile? Is this?
I'll explain that.
Oh,
It's a surprise.
Oh.
oh, okay.
Okay. There should be, okay. First off, open to the public. And Judy, the telephone for open to the public, keep it open for a couple minutes.
Is that what you usually do? You give your telephone number out?
Yes.
Well, it would be a good idea if somebody wants to call it. Actually, no, that's not true. They have to be here, right?
Yeah, they have to be here. That's
is a live
only
meeting.
For a virtual meeting.
We're being
Okay.
being too liberal.
All right, open to the public, no public.
Okay.
Couple things, and then we can open it to your discussion points. We did have the State Historic Preservation Office here. We had a half a dozen people from the state for most of the day. And as you know, we had a tour, a private tour of the Tubman Museum, and we did a historic district tour. I think it was really well received. We did lunch with everyone, and I think we had a constructive conversation afterwards. We met with the mayor and city manager and assistant city manager. There were some issues there that were discussed and understood. And then the HPC met with the state afterwards. So I would say it was positive, the whole thing. It was initiated by me, not the state, although they took advantage to meet with the mayor at that time. It was also hosted by Janet and I. So not at the city's expense, so your taxes won't go up. What I want to talk about a little bit is the approval and review procedures. Historically, we've had a committee, but the committee has really been made up of the chair plus trainees, really new people, as opposed to 2 or 3 seasoned people. That's worked for us for a long time. But what I'm seeing now, just like we're seeing these additions with a number of rooms being added and swimming pools. I'm now seeing in review a couple things that are LED lights, and the question is, it seems a bit trivial, if you will, for the whole commission. On the other hand, it seems dramatically different than what the reviews were designed to do. And so I think what we're going to have to do, until there's some change, is have a committee, and the committee will meet on a regular basis. For example, Tuesday morning or something, the week before our meeting. And I have several examples. I don't want to talk about here at the public session. I will ask for, I need 2 volunteers after we close the meeting. If the 3 of us could just go through these and approve or deny in review. So you have an example of what we're dealing with, but it's not appropriate to talk about it in a public segment. So I need 2 volunteers for tonight after we close the meeting, to just go over these applications.
Okay, so Warren, you're talking about the 2 that were in the packet, they'll now be handled in an in-review process as a
Yes.
result of what you do now?
Yeah,
Okay.
and just because I didn't think it was appropriate to approve as an individual.
You know, one of the things that might be worthy, though, of some thought is if we're getting into situations, and I know we're getting a lot of applications, and there's a lot of work being done in review. Our monthly load varies. Sometimes there are an awful lot of them. But I'm wondering, would the review committee find it helpful if the commission were to formalize or prescribe or set forth points that it was agreed that the review committee could pass on and do that as a review committee?
Well, the problem with that is then you wind up with this laundry list of things, and then the idea of the review committee really is to save some time of this group. But it should be, what's approved in review should be straightforward, not anything exceptional. So,
But you know, from time to time, you have said, for example, like the face brick situation, like the introduction of new materials, and I'm fine if you want to just consider that as something you do anyway. I just wondered if it would be helpful for the committee to have something that you could feel comfortable
I think
about.
as the committee meets, we could just capture some of those.
Okay.
Some of those things and bring them to the,
So
To-
I
to the
don't
commission.
know, I'm asking this just as a question, but who decides what goes to review?
I do,
So you look at every single application and then
Yes.
you say this goes to review or not?
yes.
Okay.
That's
So
the way we
if
used
they
to
were
do it.
questionable,
Excuse me?
if they were questionable, meaning like you think they're maybe not fully appropriate for review, couldn't you just recommend them for the whole committee?
Yes, but if you take a look at one of them, I mean, for someone to come in and do the $300 and complete the application and sit here all night, and then come up here and say they want to do an LED light on a contributing property, it just seems,
Yeah, that seems like a waste. Yeah.
on the other hand,
I mean,
LED
we
lights
do
on
get-
contributing properties.
Yeah, and we really do get 2 bites at this, in the sense that the review committee does its review based on the sortation of the materials that are sent to it, and then each of us go through and look at those things to see if we have a problem with what the review committee's done, and therefore we vote to ratify that committee action. So there is a 2-step process. It's just a shortened one and an accelerated one. At least I think it saves us a longer
Well,
list.
it's a lot of money or not a lot of money too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I
Yeah.
don't think people should be forced to pay a big amount of money to come. I wasn't really thinking about that.
Well, especially-
But I do think I would like to say that historic preservation and preserving historic buildings is more than materials.
Oh, yes.
By the way.
So Warren, are you asking for 2 volunteers for just tonight after this meeting, and also the standing committee?
Yeah, I think we,
If we could set the standing committee for Wednesday, I because that's the day that Mac doesn't require my services. And I would be willing to serve again. I mean, used to serve with Skip was here and with Mary Ann. And we had a set time, a set day, and we even had some backup. You know, if somebody couldn't make it, they'd call somebody to do it.
Well, and too, when I was on the committee, it changed frequently, because people couldn't get together on Wednesday, so they agreed to do it on Thursday or something.
I'd love to do it, actually, because I think it's also a really powerful way to learn more. Yeah.
So anyway, I would suggest we go back to that because of the changes, because for years, what I was approving was the same things, it was wood steps in the back replaced with wood. But now, yeah, we're getting a variety of things that we should talk about and maybe capture, so everyone would know what, over time, capture and communicate what they are. So I have some other things to discuss, and I want to open this up. But first, so for the tonight review committee, I just need 2 volunteers.
You got me, I'll
I think you have to.
John and Corbin. Thanks. The HPC application form.
I can now actually report a little bit of progress on that. I have the masters. Corbin and I have discussed timing and procedures. I'm in the process of reviewing based on my notes and the other materials. I will be preparing a marked draft for Corbin to review. We're going to run it by Bob Feinberg when we're through with that. And I'd anticipate we would be ready to have something to submit probably by the July meeting.
To submit here.
Yes. Yeah, for the committee to take shots at or whatever they want to do with it.
Okay,
Okay, so that's our current projected timetable.
for the July meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Training, we are all required to have 8 hours of training. There is some training available that's been distributed to you all. There may be some other options, but I'm going to need some feedback. The meeting, there's a webinar meeting. I think it's June 3rd, is it?
I remember the webinar, the state webinar, June 3rd. Yeah.
That would be the easiest way for each of us to meet the 8 hours of training requirements. If you haven't seen that, I will distribute it.
So, can I say something for a second? There's a training program in Camden at Rutgers, and they have funding from the state to provide various courses for people to be able to take, specifically oriented to people who are members of historic preservation commissions. And so I have already gone through that program and done a bunch of other stuff as well. But they would be very willing to come and talk to us, or maybe we would have a meeting beforehand if you guys would tell me what are some of the things that you're most interested in or that you most think you need to learn about, like what's contributing and not. And maybe they would be willing to create these programs and do them on Zoom so that nobody would have to travel, or they would come here physically and do them. So if anybody has, any interest in that or particular topics that you're interested in, I could send you an email and show you what the courses are that they have. But they're very willing to design stuff specifically for us.
That'd be great.
But if we pick a course that they have, can we get that and review it on our schedule when we need to? Is that something?
Do they give the courses canned, or do you have to be there live?
The courses that they do are, the formal courses that they do are typically done like a university, right? So you would do this one semester, whatever. But of those courses, as well as of things that people might be interested in, they're very willing to work with us to design something specifically for us. And the reason I think that they're willing to do that is A, because I've done a ton of stuff with them, and B, because this would be, for them, it's a great model for the state, because there are many people in historic preservation commissions that can't go wherever they hold it, right? They can't go to Camden every week, they can't go here, they can't go there. They're trying to come up with different ways that they could offer things that would be important for historic preservation commissions, and they're funded by the state.
And what the courses either they would take or they would design, those would be sufficient for credit that we're required to have.
But what would be the time commitment then for the group? I mean, if we were to do it as a group, they would come here?
And we did have that once or twice, as I recall. We had.
Yes, in fact, I put together a program that took 8 hours about, that satisfied our needs.
Their interest in this is to be able to have the opportunity to use our historic commission as a model for something that might be replicable in other places in the state, in other communities. They're not so interested in, is it 8 hours, right, or whatever. So I think that what we would need to do is, I can send everybody a list of what the courses are, just so you can see. And then I think what they want to do is they want to find out what are things that people want to know. What do people want to know about? And then they would create a course that would be about what people want to know about. And if we asked everybody here, what do you want to know about? I mean, probably everybody doesn't want to know about exactly the same things, but they could use that as a way of beginning to tailor things.
I'm comfortable with that. I mean, we have an obligation for the training, all of us.
Right.
A minimum of 8 hours, but not limited. So if you could shoot something around to everyone.
I will.
And maybe meet with them and see what they think will help us meet our requirement, and at the same time, help them. And hopefully, we could get that done, in the next couple months or something.
Well, I'm sure in the next couple months, we could figure out something that would maybe go for next year. But I also think that they would come here and do something for us. Like if you would want them to come and do like an 8-hour conference, or, do 2 4-hour sessions, or whatever people would be able to, do. And that they would probably be willing to do that. I have to find out for sure, but I
Okay.
think they would.
So the takeaway is that next month, when we meet again, you could give us an update as to, if they would be willing to come here for either an 8-hour session or 2 4-hour sessions, it'd be the obligation of everybody to make themselves available, or you have to do something else. And then after that, Pip, the other idea you have of them doing something that they could can and take around would be next year's.
Yeah. Well, I think
Project.
that would be over time, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that assumes that people need to know more.
Well, I mean, it's possible, for example, that in doing this and what they present next year, and they come to us and present it, winds up being the material that is canned and used for their other statewide presentations to other HPCs. So we're kind of like a pilot seminar thing.
But the point I was trying to make, I don't think I made it so well, is that the State Historic Preservation Office, while it is true that we're required to have 8 hours of training because of CLG, that's not really, their goal is to have people on historic commissions who are knowledgeable and who have a broad range of information. And different people have different information that they come here with, right?
Mhm.
And different skills, so it allows people to take things that increase their skills, not just meet the 8 hours. But I'll find out about meeting the 8 hours for this year for sure, which we have to do by July, right? July 1st?
Does it run the state fiscal year or calendar year?
Yeah, that's a fair question. I've always thought it was an annual requirement.
Then we better look seriously at June 3rd.
I don't know, I'm asking that as a question, I don't know at all.
I don't either, although I think the state would agree that this particular Historic Preservation Commission is probably the strongest in the state. So I think we could slip a couple weeks if we have a plan.
Okay, all right.
But, so, if,
Don't you think in a lot of ways, our meetings are part of our education? Because we're learning from each other, and some of us know more about materials, some know about styles, some know periods of history. You know, we're teaching each other. I just think.
Sure we are, but nobody's going to give us credit for that. I mean, I agree. The combined
Yeah, but I'm
knowledge.
just trying to get everybody together in a room for a full day before.
Well, we've done it sort of before, but I mean, I don't know. I've had to do continuing education for like 42 years, so I'm pretty adaptable. I'll go wherever you send me, and I'll come wherever I'm supposed to go.
yeah, we don't have an option.
Possibility that maybe when they came and presented something to us, it could be videoed. I mean, the city has the capacity, right? And they could make a YouTube of it, or however, whatever the platform is. I don't know enough about the city, so that's why I'm looking at you.
Aren't there-
But somehow, so that people who were not able to attend or couldn't attend the whole thing could still watch the video.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, many continuing education programs let you go to a live seminar and dial it up, on the web, or used to be tapes or videotapes or whatever.
Well, last year, they had the 3 different offerings, and we had to sign up, choose one.
Yep.
And then I think, didn't they send out a link afterward?
Yeah. And there's,
And aren't there materials from the National Trust, or
There's
other?
materials from
I mean,
everybody.
continuing ed is, there's a lot of options for continuing ed.
yeah, the only thing is
You have to do it.
we're obligated
Yeah.
to do it, and so we should do it, and it is part of the certified local government program, so there is no negotiation. You have an HPC, each member does 8 hours of training. So, Pip, we'll put the burden on you for next month to report back.
I will.
And then, assuming that that's doable, then we'll engage that, otherwise we'll have to punt and do something else. And then the same thing for next year,
Yeah,
two separate.
I'll get it worked out, and to be able to share something with people at the next meeting, and then you guys can say what you think, yes, no, whatever.
Okay? What else?
I see there's no Bob Feinberg here, and I guess you don't want to discuss the we don't get any respect issues at the zoning board, or is that appropriate for this session?
Yes. I think it's going to be a difficult issue, and we should discuss it. Your letter was comprehensive, very comprehensive. Jim is referring to the fact that the last 2 appeals that went to zoning were overturned. They were zoning is only supposed to overturn the HPC as if we made a mistake or were arbitrary and capricious. In both of those appeals, we didn't make a mistake. The issue was stated clearly in the standards. There was no interpretation, there was no gray area. It was quite clear. In addition, on both of those cases, we were willing to make some accommodation to the applicant. And just by the fact that we were willing to make an accommodation would demonstrate it wasn't arbitrary or capricious. Our initial reaction was we did a training program about 5 years ago. Was training. I changed my mind on that because it's not a training issue. It's just an arbitrary willingness to not follow the ordinances that are in place.
It's the law. I mean,
The law.
the city has an ordinance which specifies the standard of review for an HPC action. And it's pretty clear, as you said. I mean, and it is a standard of review that actually is a deferential one that courts use when they're reviewing an administrative agency determination. So it's actually pretty good to have that form of review that a zoning board is supposed to, but the problem is they're not applying it. They don't seem to understand what arbitrary or capricious is, and so, but there's a two-part problem. They don't seem to apply it, and if they don't apply it, this board has no recourse. At present, former Bob mentioned that the HPC has no standing to take the case further when it feels that the zoning board has wrongfully reversed it. Right. And that's an institutional defect that we face.
Also, and it goes further than that, Jim, because the most recent modification to the ordinance, and as a result of our training 5 years ago, when in question, the due deference goes to the HPC. So now we have a very specific law, an ordinance, and then if there is a gray area, the due deference comes to us. So it has to be more than a gray area. I mean, and it's not appropriate for me or someone else to guess about the motivation, but as the liaison to the HBC, I think it would be pretty strong to have a motion and a vote, but I think it is appropriate to ask you to take back to City Council this issue. I believe that the zoning board should be censured. It should be censured, I presume, not by City Council, but by the city solicitor, that they should, in a written format, receive a letter that clearly states what their responsibilities are with regards to appeals and the HPC.
Warren, you've been present at the presentations of the HPC's case when these objectors went in front of the zoning board. Does the solicitor for the zoning board instruct the board as to the standards they should be applying?
Yeah, the first prior appeal that went the wrong way, I thought the solicitor was pretty clear. Bob Feinberg's presentation was clear. But I thought the solicitor's interpretation was appropriate and it was directed, but then ignored. The most recent appeal, it wasn't clear what, there seemed to be a lot of discussion around the table between one of the members of the zoning board and the solicitor, and decisions were made and then rescinded.
Well, in the first one, we had some differences of fact, what was discovered, what wasn't discovered, when it was discovered, and whose responsibility that was. In the second one, we have a situation where the HPC had a policy and attempted to enforce the policy, and in that instance, and the policy was derived from standards. And in that instance, the board just decided that they were just going to reverse us, regardless of the fact that we were actually applying a policy. I mean, this is the kind of thing that gets you so frustrated that when it happens, aside from whatever you can say by way of, remonstrating with them, were this the kind of thing that would go up to appeal to the Superior Court, a judge would know that they failed to apply the right review standard, and he would reverse the zoning board. I mean, that really would be the outcome here, had we the standing to proceed it further, which we don't.
Right, but, so that's why it has to go back to city council for review and an opinion. I had contacted the mayor, and I have not heard back from him. I had wanted to have a meeting discussing this, because it creates a bigger problem. Years ago, before the 5+ years ago, before the training that we did, every appeal was overturned. And so what happened is the appeals were increasing at an increasing rate. Because you go to HPC, you make your presentation, you get turned down, not to worry. You go to appeal and it gets turned over.
In those cases, the solicitor for the zoning board actually encouraged the overturning of HPC regulations.
And that's because before the ordinance, they were what is known as a de novo process. So you could make your case in front of the HPC, and if it didn't really like the outcome, you would go, and the zoning board could hear anything it wanted all over again.
No, it can't hear anything.
No, I mean, before it could. Before the ordinance, it could. It could do a de novo process.
As long as I've been involved, the appeal has only been on the record.
On the existing record.
On the record, so.
All right, so it's not a de novo. You can't introduce new evidence.
But their attorney determined that it was de novo, in spite of what the ordinance said.
But we have a different attorney, and we hadn't.
And King has been a lot better about that.
I'm just concerned that there be some way that they recognize their responsibilities. I know when we act here, we act really thoroughly, we act responsibly. I don't think there's been a decision here, whether I've agreed with it or disagreed with it, that has been an irrational decision. And it's a thorough vetting, and we all try our best, and I know we give reasons, and I don't think there's anything that comes out of this board that's irrational and arbitrary. And we bend around a fair amount. Given the standards we have, it's sometimes tough to bend. But to see a board like that become a runaway train is extremely troubling to me, especially when I know if we had the right to take them to court, we'd get them reversed.
No, it's frustrating to me as well. I mean, we work hard here, we spend a lot of time, and then to just cavalierly roll over a clear written standard. And in those two cases, that's what it was.
I think the zoning board deals with hardships, and they become very sympathetic with people's problems of not being able to do something. So when they come in and present, we got turned down, and we're going to have to spend so much more money, then, all of a sudden they get emotionally interested in helping these poor people that have been wrong, and forget all about the fact
it's the same relief you'd give. It's the same relief you'd give if you could.
Yeah.
But you can't.
Yeah.
Well, the issue,
But
though.
I think that it is really how a lot of them are reacting. They get very sympathetic because, they don't see and hear us in our meetings and what we're trying to do to enforce the law of the land. So they just get emotional and feel like, oh, these poor people just got run over.
Well,
and I think we should help them out.
That's why I think a letter of censure, but whatever. They should be reminded that their mission is quite clear. It's not to be sympathetic. The question is, did the HPC make a mistake? Yes or no? Were we arbitrary or capricious in our decision? That's it. And the due deference comes to the HPC.
Can I ask a quick question as I'm listening to this? You said you went back to the zoning board and you, I guess, provided them a workshop or whatever it was as far as what the HPC.
That was 5 years ago.
5 years ago. And I'm sure a lot of board members have changed, or a few have changed. in that time period.
Some have changed. The leadership has not, some of the major players have not, the solicitor has not. This is not a training issue. And if they identified it as a training issue, then of course I would be willing to participate. But the message was clear. You don't have to have an extensive training program to say, XYZ, does it fit the standard or it doesn't? And you quote the page and the paragraph and the sentence. All you need is average intelligence and make that decision.
God,
So,
most of us have that.
at this point, it's up to the city. Does the city want to continue the way we are and just encourage more and more appeals? Does the city want to stand behind the HPC and have us follow the standards or not?
Now, this is something I would ask Bob if he were here, because he has given the advice that at present, we do not have standing to appeal a zoning board reversal. And a lot of these things get governed by, the municipal law in New Jersey, which us corporate practitioners are a little bit weak on. But one of the things I'd ask the council is, if necessary, can the council create standing for the HPC to proceed further?
Or would the council be willing to stand instead of the zoning board?
You mean as a body of ultimate appeal? I don't think they have the judicial function, but that's up for Feinberg to tell us.
No, and the city solicitor, but I mean, the burden now comes from here. I would encourage city council to listen to this discussion, this part of the discussion.
Yeah.
And I think it's city council has to make a decision as to,
The zoning board should come right out and say, we are overturning this because here they made a mistake. What was the mistake? How did we make it?
But, yeah.
Who, what, how many were arbitrary and
And Tom, that is exactly what an objector who, unlike us, a private objector who was at one of our meetings and objected to something we did, that person, ironically, has standing to go to court and pull those issues out of a zoning board reversal and put those in front of a judge. But we don't.
Well, that's what I
the only
was
thing
going to
is,
ask.
Jim,
We have had passionate private owners object to some of the cases that we're talking about. They would be able to take this to court.
As I understand it, Janice, yes.
Yes.
The objectors would have standing, but the HPC doesn't.
Or a small group of
yeah, but they're not,
preservation of minor.
they're not willing to take it to
citizens.
court because they appealed to have us overturned, so.
No, I meant objectors at the proceeding, where we've had people come on both sides of the issue. And according to Bob, they have standing.
I think the issue, though, they do, but that, we can't depend on that. Also, I don't think the city should approve one commission to be able to take another board to court or something. I mean,
Right.
the courts,
It
I mean, you
actually
got
is-
expenses on both sides.
Yeah, I mean, it's not,
And in fact, I believe if city council understood clearly what was happening here, they would fix it. So,
No, and I've spoken to you privately about this. This is something that I am working on. So, yeah, at this point, it will be brought up. There are some things that I'm working on at this point, watching some of the zoning board meetings, seeing what's happening, being here now for a few months on this commission. Everybody here does the right thing. I haven't seen anything that, there's very thought-out applications, very thoughtful process that goes into every application that's here. And I did only watch the one zoning board meeting, but there are things I'm working on behind the scenes.
I will
Okay.
say that the first overturn was hinged on sort of a procedural failure, perceived procedure failure, because the resolution did not codify what I had said in testimony about the client, if cedar shakes were found, the client would have to come back.
We don't want to get into the details.
And I would just say, and one of the reasons why you and I are working on improving the application form is to try and cut out some ambiguities and provide more representations and more material for the commission here to work on.
And in that particular case, it didn't have to be codified anyway.
In a specific case, when it goes back to the zoning board, are they required to look at the record? Of course, they will look at the resolution, but are they required to look at the record as far as the live stream prior to?
I don't know.
They get the transcript of the recorded meeting,
Okay.
which would have the same as the live.
And our solicitor,
Yeah, I mean, if they're confined to the record, they should be required to read that.
Right.
And perceive that we're just not a bunch of lunatics who are deciding these things. I don't know whether they read them or not, but it's their duty to read them. I mean, as I said, if I were on one of these reviewing boards, I would take great care to the standard of review. That is so clear in the ordinance as to how narrow that is for this board. And we just are not likely to make those kinds of mistakes or act that way.
Because on previous boards that I've been on, if there was, a board member or, a commission member that was absent and it was a continuation of an application, you would be required to sit with the clerk or the secretary or somebody, and they would have to verify that you listened to the record.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how they do their duty, but there are different standards of proof, different standards that you have to come by. And one of them is like the preponderance of the evidence, more than less. Another one is clear and convincing. Another one, as you know from criminal statutes, is reasonable doubt, right? So somewhere between clear and convincing and reasonable doubt is arbitrary, capricious, and willful. That's where the standard of review for this commission ought to be. And I think it's being treated way down below that.
well, especially when you go to due deference. Because that means even if it looks like we might have made a mistake.
And that's what brings you up to the level of reasonable doubt. I mean, it's a high standard, a high bar. And they're just either not getting it or they are ignoring it.
So with that, Lorraine, you'll take it back to city council, and then next month, you'll share with us what, if anything, is happening. Do we have any,
Motion to adjourn?
do we have anything else to come before this group?
Sleep.
Okay.
I'll second that motion.
All right, motion to adjourn made and seconded.
But I have to tell you, it's good.
Okay.
I'll read it.
It was fun,
Yeah, it was.